Welcome to the 1% Insight. Today, I'm joined by Mícheál Brennan, who is Head of Search at Legacy Communications, one of the leading communication and marketing agencies in Ireland. Mícheál is one of the leading search and digital PR professionals in the country. Mícheál's story of success is impressive, from leaving college to working in an airport to successfully launching his own agency, SMB Clicks, that would then go on to be acquired by Legacy Communications. Mícheál and his team work with multi-million euro and dollar clients across the world and have won numerous awards such as SEO and digital PR campaigns at the EU Search Awards 2022 and 2023. They are also in the final again this year. Welcome to the 1% Insight, Mícheál. Let's go back to how it all started and how your journey in SEO and marketing began.
So, I'd always been interested in marketing and just couldn't really get a start in it. I'd left college. I did 2 years in college and left with a higher certificate. So I was working in the airport for a few years and for 4 years, and then obviously it was 2010. Things were pretty bad in Ireland, so they were offering redundancy. So I was like 23 years old. The redundancy was like, going on a winning streak, I suppose. So I took the redundancy, and at that point, then my father, who had previously had a business, a courier business, had gone back to college to do a health and safety degree. And I was kind of saying, you need to get a website. And he was like, no, I'll build it off word of mouth. And I was like, you absolutely have to get a website. So I took some of the money that was from the redundancy and got a website made. And I was like, sweet, we've got a website now. Phone's going to start ringing. I think about 3 or 4 months went by and nothing happened. And I was like, what's the story here? So then I started Googling, I suppose, the keywords like, manual handling Cork and health and safety advisor Cork, and nothing was showing up. So that's when I kind of first started learning about paid ads, actually. So I started looking at Google's paid ads, and also started looking at SEO, and put some money behind that, and basically phone started ringing pretty quickly. Like, so I as I got more and more into SEO, that was 2010. So at the time then I was working in VMware, and I eventually went to Canada in 2012, and was kind of just doing that as doing SEO and PPC on the father's website kind of as a hobby. But spent 2 years in Canada and kind of felt that when I was coming back that there was a business in this that I could generate leads for small businesses. So I came back in 2014 and set up SMB Clicks at that stage. So SMB Clicks was just obviously a terrible name. Was like, I was living in Canada at the time, and Canadians and American people would say SMBs, where obviously in Ireland they'd say SMEs. So that was the kind of idea behind the name. But came back obviously targeting kind of small businesses, and I built a bit of a career in sales when I was in Canada. So I kind of was feeling confident enough that I could generate business for myself, and just kind of grew from there over the years, over the following 7 years or whatever, before we ended up joining up with Legacy.
It's a fantastic story. And like in those early days, because a lot of listeners will be kind of aspiring business owners, maybe in the early stage of their business or in the marketing agency space as well. How did you persevere in those first few years of SMB Clicks to, acquire clients, generate results, manage it, and just kind of set yourself up for what you would go on to be a very successful business?
Pure and utter ignorance, I suppose, really. I was pretty young, so I was whatever, 25 at the time, and in Canada in the sales job, I'd done pretty well. So at the time I would have had no problem cold calling businesses. So I would have made a list of businesses that I thought that I could do good work with either with Google Ads or SEO or website as well. So at the time when I started, I was doing websites as well. So the idea there was that if I could build a website for a business, that I could then upsell them the Google Ads and the SEO, which would be the more the continuing revenue or whatever. Like that, I build a website. I used to just outsource that to a guy on Upwork, a guy in Bangladesh. He'd do the work. We'd create WordPress websites with premium teams, and then I just sell the Google Ads afterwards to kind of keep it going. But at the time, really, I'd no bother cold calling businesses and stuff like that. And then obviously, and even still today, referrals are very important then as well. So as an example, there was one guy that I called, ended up working with him, but then he I think referred me to 3 or 4 other similar businesses. So like at that time as well, I was kind of targeting some of the wedding businesses. So, like the makeup artists and bands, all that jazz. So like that, the guy had a couple of referrals for me and stuff like that. That kind of built it out, I suppose. Obviously, as well, coming from a sales background at the time, I was fairly used to working long hours, like because in sales, the more you work, the more you make. There was no limit on commission and stuff, so I kind of had that mindset. So I wasn't too pushed if I was working, 9 until 11, which was kind of the average day, definitely for a lot of the first year or two. And then there was a couple of different supports and stuff as well. So like obviously there's an e-centre in Bandon. The rent was fairly reasonable. I think it was like 200 quid a month in my own office and all that. I kind of made good contact there with Garrod O'Driscoll, who's with ODM Accountants at the time. He's retired now, but he was kind of over the e-centre, so he kind of gave me a good bit of mentorship and stuff as well at that stage. Which I'd say, as I said, kind of pure and utter ignorance really, and just not being afraid to pick up the phone and ring people.
It's a good piece of advice as well, especially for people starting off, to kind of just go after it and give it a go, like, and you kind of surprise yourself in terms of what you could achieve if you dedicate yourself. So as you kind of like scaled up S&B Clicks over the years, was there any piece of advice that you would give in terms of maybe certain challenges that you had to overcome when building out the agency and scaling it, in terms of taking on more clients or delivering exceptional results for your clients that you had? Was there any piece of advice that you'd give to maybe aspiring business owners, agency owners in the marketing space, on how they can kind of navigate those and kind of create the best results for the clients?
The big thing that I did was invest in training courses, and that would have allowed me to kind of improve my skill set massively overnight. So I just remember, obviously said I was working with a lot of smaller businesses, which is kind of, smaller retainers and stuff like that. Then I started coming across some of the courses that some of like the top SEO guys were doing, and like that, it can be a bit of a lottery within course. But I bought a link building course. I spent 800 quid in it. I remember buying the 800 quid and paying the 800 quid and absolutely shitting myself and saying, geez, what if this isn't any good? Like, and that was a massive amount of money at the time. And yeah, basically it was a course from a guy called Ryan Stewart. He's got a course now called the Blueprint, but basically his kind of angle these days is around like scaling agencies and stuff like that. But at the time he had a really good course on link building, all the methods, all of how they were doing it, and I basically just started implementing that straight away, and it allowed me to kind of have a process basically for link building that I wouldn't have had before. And obviously link building is a big part of SEO, and it's something that most SEOs don't like doing either as well, so it kind of gave me a bit of an advantage. And then like over the following years, I think I spent upon the 20 grand on courses. Like, so like there'd be a guy there called Brian Dean, who'd be kind of very well known as like he'd have a really good personal brand built up in terms of SEO. I bought his course. That was like 3.5 grand. There was a few more, and like so I suppose what I kind of did, being honest, was looked at what some of the best people were doing. If they had a course, I'd buy it off and then just learn it and implement it myself. And yeah, like when I started doing that in terms of scaling, it just kind of really took off. Like it was like lighting fuel under it, because like that, I kind of, if I hadn't bought those courses, I could still learn the things, but it might have took me 5 or 10 years, whereas I was learning so much within the 6 months. And like that, it can be, as I said, a bit of a lottery within courses. Some of them can be absolute snake oil. Just like investing in those kind of courses from a lot of the best guys in the world, and improving my skill set, then allowed me to work with bigger businesses and improve my own skills, work with bigger businesses, and then actually get results for them really. There was a few interesting things happened along the way then as well. So like that link building course that I bought, right? So I got a notion one day. I started using this software for outreach called Mailshake, which is kind of like an email automation thing, right? So obviously if you're doing link building, you're building a list of target sites, you're reaching out to them and trying to negotiate with them to get a link. So I was using Mailcheck to automate that, and I just got a notion and got onto the CEO of Mailcheck and said, "Hey, can I do a guest blog for you on how I'm using Mailcheck for link building?" Because it was kind of more focused at a sales audience. It was kind of more focused at people that were doing cold outreach via email, but for sales. So they said, "Yeah, no problem." So I went, and I think it was when I was on holidays. Actually, I wrote the guest blog and kind of just outline my process. I was using Mailcheck for link building, but then they didn't post it for a couple of months. They posted around October, but when they did post it, they put it on a thing called Growth Hackers. So I think this was maybe 2017, 2018. Growth Hackers was big enough. It was like everyone was into growth hacking, but they put it on Growth Hackers, and that article got really popular on Growth Hackers. So much so that I don't know, CEO or the founder of Growth Hackers, he had about 750,000 followers at the time. He shared it on his own Twitter, and that was seen then by a company in the States. And the company in the States, their VP saw it. He reached out to me on Twitter, and I didn't know anything about them, but I googled the company anyway, and at the time they just got something like 7 million in funding, like a Series A or something like that, and I was like, okay, these guys have money. So I think, as I said at the time, my biggest retainer was about 1,000 or 1,500 quid a month, and they got on to me, and he was like, I really liked your article on link building, really good stuff, and we'd be interested in working with you. And I was like, yeah, no problem. And then as we were going through it, I was kind of saying like my minimum retainer was $3,000 a month. And it wasn't, like, it was about, as I said, about 1,500. I knew they had money and they didn't even blink at it. And then, up for the next 6 months, that scaled to like 5 or 6 grand a month in a retainer, and obviously, like, then I was able, so because I had the whole process from that link building course, I was able to implement that. So I had a guy in I had a freelancer in Scotland doing most of the outreach for me. I had a couple of people in the Philippines doing link prospecting and stuff. So all I'd done really was implement that process from the course that I bought. But it was, as I said, it ended up being, worth $5,000 or $6,000 a month for a good 2 years, and I still, like, my contact in that company, we'd still work with in his new company now, But as I said, like, it's weird. Sometimes there's just these little things that happen along the way. As I said, I got a notion to write a guest blog for a company. Whatever happened in the background happened in the background. That got me in front of these guys. And if I hadn't bought the course for £800 and gone through it, I wouldn't have necessarily known how to implement it for those guys. And like that, I was building a lot of links for them at the time. So worked out pretty well. There's a lot of my quote unquote story is built off of gut instinct. Like, as in, like, deciding getting onto your man from Mailcheck to do the guest blog was pure and utter gut instinct. There was no real reason why. I was like, okay, it'd be grand if I can get a link from my own website. But then those other few bits happened, and then, as I said, like, went out into the Twitterverse at the time and ended up with a really, really solid lead from a good US company. Like, we'd work with a few US companies now, and it's like something that I'd never shy away from or whatever. Like, whereas other companies might be shit, we don't have any experience in the US market or whatever. Whereas we'd have a good bit of experience now built up over the years.
But that's some story how kind of led on from that one course and those actions that kind of led you to get that kind of big retainer. So you took all those insights and learnings from SMB clicks, and then you eventually joined up with Legacy Communications. So how did that kind of come about?
So it was an interesting one. With one of my clients, my contact was the CMO, and the CMO was leaving, so I set up a conversation with the CEO, and I suppose the CEO, like, it's a good software company, like, they're doing millions. So the CEO, when I had the conversation, it was basically just take him through, look, this is the strategy, this is where you are, this is what we've been doing, this is what we're doing going forward. And he was like, oh, that's all really cool. And he was like, to be honest, I was kind of saying to the team, why are we working with this guy from Cork? Like, why aren't we working with the best agency in London or in New York or whatever? Why are we working with this guy from Cork? And he was like, having seen what you've done and what you're planning on doing, I think it's all great, and I'm really glad we're working with you. And then he was like, sure, why don't you just come on board? And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, just come on board, join us. And I was kind of like a bit thrown back. So I was like, obviously they're worth a good few bob, and I was like, sure, why don't you just buy my agency and I'll come on board. And So then I've a little group of couple of SEO friends from around the country, kind of similar guys to myself at the time, that are kind of one man bands, with contractors and stuff. So yeah, we just set up a little kind of group. We'd meet up once a month, and I was just telling him that story. That I was like, shit, I'm in an awkward position here. I've got a really good client, but your man's trying to hire me. But at the same time, it's not necessarily something I want to do. So I was telling my buddy that, and funnily enough, he at the time was chatting to Legacy, because they were looking to either hire or acquire, to move into the digital side of things. So yeah, as I said, I was just telling him the story of the kind of awkward situation with the client, and he was like, well, wait actually a second, would you be interested in selling the agency or whatever? And I was like, I'd listen, like, as in, it wasn't something I was looking for, but it was like, if the right thing came along, I'd probably consider it. So he told me then, obviously, that Legacy were looking, and he connected me then with Bernard, and we had kind of initial conversation, and then we were kind of chatting over, I think, about 8 months from the summer 2020 up until April 21, when we finalised it all. And Legacy bought the business, and brought me in then.
Congratulations as well, because I think that's definitely the dream for a lot of agency owners, business owners, is when you can kind of get that deal done, or kind of have that success with it. But obviously it took many years of learnings, of working, like you mentioned there, like all hours of the day, to get to that point and achieve that kind of success. And now that you're in Legacy, to move into the more kind of search and digital PR, to kind of give our listeners a good insight in terms of what's performing well today, and how they can kind of utilize it. What areas of search, digital PR, communications have you seen change in the landscape over the last kind of few years from your own perspective?
It's getting interesting. Like, being honest, all of the AI stuff is definitely a worry, for me, in terms of like being an SEO, because the way that searches work for the last 20 years is that, like, you put in your query, Google gives you a list of websites to push you towards. Whereas with AI coming in, it's starting to give actual answers, which doesn't necessarily push someone towards the website or your client's website. So, it's like, without being too worried about it, it's definitely a small bit of a worrying thing, because like, the likes of Bing now have integrated ChatGPT into the search. No, obviously Bing has only got a tiny portion of the market, but then there's a lot of stuff going on at Google in terms of. I read an interesting article the other day about the guy that ruined Google search. So there's a kind of story about, from back in 2019, that a VP of paid ads kind of ousted the main search guy, and Google search has been kind of declining since. And it has been, like, like, they've implemented a lot of updates, especially over the last year, and like, they're doing these updates really to they're saying to try and reduce spam, but what's happening is they're getting spam to death. So, like, Google's own results at the moment, they're all a bit messed up. So yeah, it's getting a bit strange, right, at the moment, like, in terms of being maybe a bit of a worry for the industry, but like that, at the same time, we're still able to generate results and stuff like that. But it's, like, there's websites getting hit for kind of no real reason, and websites are definitely seeing a fall in results, I suppose. The other thing, obviously, then as well, like with SEO and organic. So, like I said, when I first started working on SEO, if you rank first, you rank first, and all of the ads used to be down the side of it. Whereas nowadays, like, there's at least 4 ads before somebody even gets to the organic click, and before as well, the ads used to be really obviously that they were sponsored, whereas now they almost look like they're part of the results stuff. So, like, driving results organically can that be that bit harder now, because you could be ranking first, but you could be under 4 ads, and you could be under a search result, or a featured snippet or something like that. It's going to take up a lot of real estate. Now, obviously, we have PPC now as well, so we've got an account director for PPC that came in last year. So, like, the ideal really is that we're able to work across all channels and have everything working together, like, and then, in terms of the digital PR, obviously, so, like, Legacy would traditionally be a PR agency. They'd seen what a lot of agencies in the UK were doing with digital PR, and wanted to bring that into the Irish market as a product. And obviously, I suppose, like, within SEO, link building is a big part of it. And if your website doesn't have authority, then it won't rank no matter how good your SEO is technically or whatever. But as the years kind of went on, it got harder and harder to build links using the kind of traditional SEO methods. So digital PR then allows you to really kind of build links at scale. So I still see that as a really important part for the business, because obviously the way that Google's algorithm has evolved as well is really favoring brands, and how it understands a brand is via links to the brand and mentions of the brand on the internet. So if you're doing digital PR and if you're able to put together a good enough story that'll get good enough coverage, then that's what's going to drive your SEO as well. But obviously you've got the PR value in the first instance, so you've got the initial PR value, but then if there's a link or a brand mention there, that's what's going to help your business at the next stage, then where you're trying to drive traffic organically and stuff. So digital PR, so obviously there's been a lot of layoffs recently of journalists and stuff like that, so it just means you've less journalists to reach out to. And obviously the less journalists that are there, on big sub journalists were already under severe pressure, trying to need to bang out an article every hour or something like that, which comes with its own stresses. So yeah, trying to cut through the noise when you've got a good story can be that bit difficult as well. But obviously we've managed to have good success with that.
I remember you were doing a talk last year at MTU. You'd shown and highlighted like a couple of the campaigns you've done, specifically kind of the digital PR side. And I found that really interesting, because it's something that when people think of PR, they think of like very traditional PR, but with the digital PR, I've seen firsthand like how successful and impact it can have for a brand, whether that be sales, brand awareness, whatever the goal is. And you've had like numerous very clever and like nearly viral campaigns over the years at Legacy that you kind of mentioned as well. So like from those campaigns, like the learnings you've got now, you don't have to mention to the campaigns if you can't kind of disclose that, but if you'd like to kind of chat about the power of that kind of digital PR and how you kind of craft those.
We always try to go the creative route, and like I suppose a question we get asked a lot is around the contacts that we have. Like, so like the assumption always is that like that we would have contacts and good relationships with journalists, and of course Legacy would, they've built up serious relationships over the years. But like a lot of digital PR campaigns that we're doing are targeting an international market, really. Like, so obviously Legacy's core market is Ireland, and the relationships with journalists would be with journalists in Ireland, but we've managed to successfully get digital PR campaigns that landed well in the States, landed well in UK, and it's like, from my point of view, it's all just down to the creative idea, like, so I suppose if the idea is creative enough, it doesn't matter if you have the relationship with the journalist or not. If it's a good enough idea and it's something that the journalist knows will get clicks, because obviously at the end of the day they want clicks to their media website, or to their they want people to buy the papers, but they want people to come onto their site so that they can sell money to, or sell space to advertisers and so on. So we've really tried to go the creative route, and one of my colleagues, Claire, in the agency, is kind of responsible for, I suppose, the process that we have to come up with really good ideas, and that like we're kind of holding ourselves accountable. We've focused a lot on the creative side of things, and then because of that, we've managed to have a couple of viral campaigns. So one of them, the one that won the European Search Award and was finalist for the US Search Awards as well, was a pretty simple idea. It was just a dream job campaign. So we worked with an influencer marketing agency in the States, and their whole offering is that they've got a book of influencers that that you can partner your business with to promote your business. But so what they wanted to kind of rank for was stuff around like TikTok influencer agency, TikTok agency, and so on. So we came up with a dream job, which was get paid to watch TikTok, and like I said, pretty simple idea. So we created just a job application page on their website, wrote up the release in terms of what was involved in the job, and it wasn't a full-time job. It was just I think it was £1,000 that the winner would get. But then obviously we reached out to all the different media outlets, and it just went viral, and would have ended up in the likes of the New York Post, Newsweek, Entrepreneur magazine, and hundreds of other publications as well, and kind of went viral. So obviously we pitched it out in the UK, Ireland, and the US, and got good results there. But then we noticed as well that like media in foreign countries were picking it up as well. So obviously they're reading English publications, and then take it. So like we're getting coverage in France, Spain, like every country you can think of basically. But yeah, as I said, it was just a really simple idea, but I suppose the impact of that, right? So we had, you know, about 200 pieces of coverage within a week, right? Most of those linking to the job applications. So you got, you know, at the moment, 200 links, because it went so viral. And like, even, you know, a lot of these publications would have been sharing it on their own social media and stuff as well. So it had a high click-through rate on their side, which then translated into a really high click-through rate on the client side. So in the space of the 2 weeks, I think we drove something like 250,000 visitors to the website. So you've got two things there. You've got the number of links at a high scale in a short period of time, plus this, you know, massive traffic signal. And yeah, like in terms of rankings, their rankings changed overnight. Like I'd never really seen anything like that, where, because obviously SEO is slow, and like, you know, you're kind of working over 6 or 12 months before you start to really generate the results. Whereas with this, yeah, they were going from ranking, let's say 20th from TikTok agency to third for TikTok agency overnight, you know. So I suppose it just really showed the power of a viral campaign, really, that, like, you know, if something does go viral, and if you are getting those things, getting those traffic, that it can, you know, literally translate into real organic results as well. Now, obviously, as I said, there was the initial PR value too. So, like, you know, literally probably millions of people that had never heard of the client before would now be familiar with the client. But then, as I said, off the back end, and as well, their rankings just were so much stronger, pretty much, you know, overnight or over the course of 2 weeks, like, you know.
This kind of podcast is all about like the 1% insights. So kind of delving into the 1% insights of all those small percentage differences that will make the difference in the end. And especially in kind of SEO and PR, I'm sure you kind of see it a lot in terms of over that kind of 6 to 12 month period, where you have to be continually making those 1% of differences day in, day out, to try and improve the results and build something so that it will deliver for the client. Based on when you're creating those campaigns, or even just working in SEO in general, have you found like there's like a 1% thing that you do? Obviously, don't give away your secrets or anything along those lines, but is there something you found that applying a 1% difference every time has made a difference to, you know, achieving those fantastic results for clients in your work?
It's probably the digital PR. Like, so as I said, like, most SEOs don't want to build links. They hate building links. They'll do everything they can to avoid it, you know. And like, don't get me wrong, technical SEO is important, but, like, you know, the important thing really is the overall strategy. And I suppose a lot of agencies just don't have the capabilities to build links. They might buy them, and they'll figure out all different ways, you know, like private blog networks and link farms and stuff. Yeah, I suppose the 1% on our side really is the fact that we can use digital PR to build links that will actually grow the authority of the site as well. And obviously, it's the way the algorithm is evolving, is that, you know, it's Google's focusing on brands, so we're able to showcase, okay, that this is a real brand because it's got coverage and it's got links from media. So yeah, that's probably our 1% bit, the fact that we can do it all, everything from the strategy to the technical, but also the links. And don't get me wrong, there is other agencies out there that can build links as well, but definitely in Ireland and in some parts of the UK as well, we're kind of an outlier in the fact that we can build the links as well. So that's probably our advantage, I would say.
One of my last questions for you, Mícheál, is, so there'll be a lot of business owners listening to this today. What is the one piece of advice you would share with companies trying to grow their business online, whether that be through SEO, digital PR, PPC? What kind of advice would you give to those businesses?
Working in marketing, I'm obviously going to say that you need to invest in your marketing. Finding the right channel is obviously one thing as well. So, like, there'll be businesses will come to us, and, like, again, they might have seen me on LinkedIn or see some of the stuff, case studies I'm sharing on LinkedIn around SEO and stuff, and, like, sometimes I'll tell a business that SEO isn't right for them, that they're better off with PPC or maybe with social media or whatever. Like, so yeah, I think finding the right channel for your business is definitely one thing, and in some cases the business can be so new that it might be something like doing outbound and stuff like that. I obviously, having come from a sales background earlier in my career, can understand the frustrations of, you know, being on the sales side, and there's always that, you know, constant battle between sales and marketing in terms of marketing generating leads and then sales saying they're not good leads or whatever. But yeah, I think probably finding the right channel really, like, would be the main thing. And, you know, there's plenty of businesses that I've kind of seen over the last few years that have built their funnel through social media and like that. it's the right channel for them, and I wouldn't, if they were to come to us, I'd probably be saying to stick with what they're doing, or else, maybe amplify it more on the paid side. But finding the right channel, and then obviously, as I said, SEO can take 6 or 9 months before it starts to kick in. Not every company's going to have that budget, whereas PPC or so, like PPC or paid social media ads, they're there straight away. Like, so, definitely finding the right channel, and kind of investing in that right channel then. But obviously finding the right partner. 'Cause as I said, like, there's plenty of people in SEO that are snake oil sales with the same PPC, so finding that right partner, I suppose those kind of people kind of are difficult to find, and that's why they're busy, I suppose.
Well, Mícheál, I'd like to thank you very much for sharing your 1% insights today. So where can our listeners find you or Legacy on social or your website?
I'm on LinkedIn. If you just search for Mícheál Brennan on LinkedIn, and then Legacy, so legacycommunications.com. So we've got main office is based in Lucan, and then obviously we've got a satellite office in Cork, inside the city. And then like my own team is kind of more remote, so we're kind of based all over the country, and we have a couple of people in the UK as well working with us. Legacycommunications.com, and I'm on LinkedIn.
Thanks very much, Mícheál, for joining today, and thanks for sharing your 1% insights.